edition of the CantinaMX podcast, post Mexico Sweden quick reacts show. Mexico loses to Sweden but advances to the knockout stage of the World Cup, second place, and we'll play the winner with the winner of the first place of Group E, Serbia. It could be Switzerland, it could be Brazil. We won't know. We won't know for the next 2.5 hours or so. So for about the next 30 minutes, we'll do a quick recap of I guess what we all just saw, and let's get right to it. My name is John Chu. Happy to have you guys with us, joining us live on our YouTube page. And joining us is Joel Aceves from, I'm going to guess, Orange County, California. Joel, how are you?
I'm doing good, John. I'm doing good. It was quite the roller coaster ride.
It was. And once again, like it happened in 1998, although at the end Mexico did get the result on their own. And then again, it happened for the U.S. in 2002, where a Korea goal sealed the U.S.'s push into the second round. A Korea goal in the late stages of their game against Germany, and then a second one on the first empty netter I've seen in a World Cup, I think my entire life. Korea's win over Germany 2-0 puts Mexico in the knockout stage in second place, with Sweden winning, of course, after their 3-0 win over Mexico today. So it's Sweden first, Mexico second, and we'll talk about all the implications of that here in a second. Before we do that, though, let's introduce the other member of the panel who has joined us here on this Wednesday morning, afternoon, depending on where you are. I'm talking about Juan El Profe Cambiarrayas Uribe, joining us from beautiful Long Beach, California. Profe, how are you, sir?
Hey, good, John. It's I guess a midday quickie, huh?
Yeah, it's we should title the show Afternoon Delight, because I believe that song Afternoon Delight is about it. Afternoon quickie. So yes, indeed.
There you go.
Afternoon Delight here on the CantinaMX podcast. Profe, very quickly, I asked you last night what happened. You said Mexico gana y enfrentamos a Suiza. Mexico no ganó, but Suiza could still very well happen. So, Profe, what was your gut the minute the game was over? Said, they lost. ¿Por qué esto? ¿Qué pasó?
I mean, what I saw on the field, it was just a bizarre game. The referee, it's like he's a big Hollywood fan. He loves the terrible acting, the B movies.
Right.
He's probably. What was that one movie where that guy, the monster in the swamp? Those terrible 80s movies that are really bad.
Swamp Thing.
I think he's like one of those Swamp Thing and
They didn't mean terrible 80s movies. How dare you insult my childhood, Juan?
Actually, Swamp Thing is actually a really good. Yeah, Swamp Thing is a good movie.
Well, I'm thinking like Weird Science, like.
What? Hey, now, hang on a second. I'm with you, Joel.
What?
You need to.
Mute his mic, man.
No. You know the one with Leroy.
Is that so? Well, who made you pull for this dump, huh?
Closer about to come off, Juan.
All right. So I think the point is that the guy likes, in your case, bad acting. So with Sweden, were they laying it on thick? Is that what happened in the first part of the game, Juan? That kind of set the tone for the rest of the match. Is that what you're getting at?
Yeah, I mean, look, that first yellow on Gallardo. That's not a yellow to me. It's not even a foul. There was no contact made, and I think Sweden's goal was to embellish any contact and look for a free kick.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Sweden's game plan was very simple. They were going to let Mexico hacerse bolas, and they were going to take chances on counters and set pieces. As one would expect them to do. I mean, that's how they, it's not just how they play Mexico. That's just how they play. And, they're very good defensively. So it is a very solid strategy for them. They obviously had a massive height advantage against Mexico. You watch it when they're shaking the hands and it's like, this is going to be interesting.
Well, I mean, their captain's like, he looks like he plays on our Sunday League pub team, right, Jolie? That guy's got a bigger beard than yours and mine put together, I think.
And he scored a goal. He scored a goal today.
Goddamn.
Goddamn. Yeah, man.
Yeah. So a bunch of big boys. And, yes, people always complain about, soccer, they're a bunch of floppers and this and that. But, all they're doing, just like they do in any other sport, it's like when a basketball player drives the lane and draws a foul, or when he shoots into a guy, they're just trying to draw the foul because it has huge implications in the game, and that's what Sweden did from the very beginning. And unfortunately for Gallardo, it kind of made him really. It took him out of his game completely, and he was not as confident going forward, and he was very he just was thinking too much because he was trying not to make a mistake, and I think that it definitely wore on him, and it was his a couple of his loose passes that led to some Sweden counters, including the first goal. But beyond that, let's get to Joel. So Joel,
Wait, John.
let's Joel.
Yes,
Jole,
yes.
profe, good lord, I'm telling you.
Goddamn,
So,
profe.
who
One
made
of my
you
opening
open this
thoughts
dump,
on
huh?
it.
Well, you got your opening thought in. We'll let Joel.
Yeah.
It's a very quick show.
¿Sabes qué, güey? Dame una chela mejor, cara.
All right,
Yeah,
so-
actually, I'm drinking a Bohemia as we speak.
all right, well, Joel, please, your very quick thought before Juan say.
Juan
Se acelere.
seems excited. Quick thought on the game. You know what? I heard it on the radio. I went old school, John. I was driving and I had to put the radio on, so I was listening to it on Cantor's Fútbol de Primera station.
Sure.
So I missed a lot of this. I didn't get to see what was going on because I heard that the penalty wasn't a penalty and the coach.
Oh, it was a penalty. It was. Oh yeah.
Which one?
And that
The Moreno play.
No, dude, it wasn't.
He makes major contact on the guy's hip. I mean, he brings him down. He does not.
When the guy is running, he opens his step like his normal stride. It's not. He changes it. If you look,
I understand that, but what I'm saying is that there was contact.
Well, because the guy
well above the feet. Well, of course he did. Again.
That's what I'm saying. That it's not a foul because he's the one that ran into Moreno.
It was. I mean, if it wasn't a penalty, the VAR would have changed it. Would you agree? They didn't even look at it, dude. But I'm telling you, it was a clear penalty. A clear penalty. I'm sorry, but it was. It wasn't a yellow card penalty, but the guy he just took him. But it was a penalty.
No, dude.
I'm telling you.
Well, okay.
Man, dale comer a tus perros, güey.
Yeah.
Even they're pissed off, John.
Are you gonna release the hounds and have them go look for Mexico's
account? Absolutely.
He hasn't fed them because he's been watching the World Cup.
No,
but again, the fact is Hector Moreno was in position. Yes, there is contact, and that's contact, what they call.
But if he's running his normal gait,
pero no importa, Juan, se hace caer, man. Again, Juan, if you're a striker, Juan, if you're a striker,
I know,
right?
John, yes.
If you're a striker and you're winning 1-0 and you know that the next goal is going to put you in first place in the World Cup, das ist caer, way, or are you going to be, oh no, it's honorable, I'm just going
to. Okay, John.
Das ist caer?
But when Chucky was brought down many times, the referee just waved it on, I mean, it's a bizarre game, bizarre refereeing, John. But this guy's coming from the Argentine Primera División where, they have to like practically hack you, 2-footed tackles to even call a penalty. They don't call soft stuff like that. So
regardless of the penalty, which I mean, you may want to call it soft, but it was definitely penalty. I mean, there was no reason to object. I mean, again, the VAR didn't even look at it. They didn't even tell him, hey, you need to really look at this. They didn't do it.
But you know what, Juan?
They needed to.
You really can't use that whole because that's how they play in Argentina because. They do tell the referees for the World Cup. They have them enforce certain rules. So one of the best examples was
the human factor.
Mira, and another thing, there have been more penalties in this World Cup call than in almost every previous, almost in their entireties. Definitely in the group stage. So as Joel has pointed out, the refs have obviously been given a directive.
Yeah.
Si está dudosa, márcala.
Are they conditioned?
I don't know conditioned, but they have. Well, they're expected to ref a certain way, and I'm gonna give you one of the best examples, which was '94 World Cup. They had just introduced the tackle from behind rule, and Echeverri does it to Germany, like 1 minute into the match.
Y vámonos.
And you know who was at the stadium? It was
Arturo Bricio.
No, he was a ref, but the guy watching the game was the Supremo at the time, the main FIFA guy.
Joe Havelange?
Yeah, Joao Avalanche and Brizo Carter was the ref, and boom, red card, man.
Tómala.
Which yeah, for El Diablo, coming in from in South America and playing Libertadores and tough games, that wasn't to him. He wasn't expecting that, but the rule had been given, man. So a lot of times they let you know, dude, this is how it's gonna be. So you really can't complain too much.
Look, man, when anytime there was a Mexican body next to a twice their size Swedish guy, they would automatically drop to the ground. It was like Vlade Divac, all over the ground, just flopping every play, every 50-50 challenge. Even Marco Fabian, he dropped a guy. To me, I mean, it's a valid game plan because the ref is falling for it, but I think the referee has to be a little bit more selective on what fouls he calls, because
Sweden wanted to make that game as ugly as possible. They did not want Mexico to get their passing game going
their mojo
at all. At any stage, which to me, I look at the match. How Mexico played Germany, where obviously they had, Osorio said, this is the match that I'm going to spend the majority of my time on preparing. And he had Germany dead to rights, and he had them completely scouted. He knew exactly what Germany was going to do, for 90 minutes. Mexico wins 1-0. Hang on a second. Mexico wins 1-0. Okay. So how Osorio had studied Germany, the Swedish coach, I forget the gentleman's name, studied Mexico. He had Mexico dead to right. And then Osorio yesterday at the press conference says, we're going to play the way we always play. En serio?
But you can't take the press conference by the letter, because I mean, it could be mind games,
Well, of course it's mind games, but he, the mind game he gave was, we're not going to do anything different, which again is fine. But in a game like that, I mean, you kind of had to do something different. I will say this: I just saw a tweet from Rodolfo Landeros, and he says it to a man. The Mexican players are taking this as a lesson to not be, se confiaron, and that's se le subió. They started reading their. For some crazy reason in Mexico winning games in the World Cup, they actually started getting positive responses on their tweets instead of the "Vete a la verga, pinche inútil,
from the fans
de la chingada." Yeah, exactly. So exactly. So se le subió un poco. And
impresionante, yeah.
And so and to me, and we mentioned this right before we went on the air, and this is true. I think this is the universal truth of Mexico. Is that Mexico, especially at the World Cup, plays 1,000 times better as the hunter than they do as the hunted. When they play as the hunted, se meten en bolas, and it's always been like that. And it was and Sweden.
Wait, John, you're confusing me.
I'm not confusing you.
Yes, sir.
No, sir.
You say Mexico, so I mean, to me, my thing is Mexico plays better as the underdog.
Yeah, the hunter. Oh,
okay, the underdog is a hunter?
Yes.
I thought you would be the hunted if you're the underdog.
No, the hunted to me is a favorito. I mean, you have to bring the favorito.
Okay. Yeah, it's my ESL. Tenme paciencia, güey. No te rías, güey. Uno que va a la escuelita para aprender.
Yes. I'm not laughing with you, man. I'm not laughing at you. I'm laughing with you. I hear you laughing deep inside.
Okay, I get it. My bad. I agree.
You made me laugh because you said you're ESL, and I thought that was funny.
I am actually.
Hey, did you ever take the TOEFL? Anyway.
Pinche you won.
Yes. So that to me is is how the game played out, and Sweden, like I said, I think had Mexico dead to rights and hadn't had them for, because they, like Mexico, were expecting that was going to be the final. That was going to be the game that put. Because everyone, including us, and I think I could, there are 7 billion people on this planet, right? Everyone, including us, except Ronnie, thought that Germany would advance, fácil. So the Mexico-Sweden game was the game that everyone, and for Sweden, it still was. Sweden had to win that game in order to advance. I mean, regardless of what happened in the other game, Sweden had to win that game, because they were still, everyone was still expecting Germany to win and win caminando.
Yeah.
So and for Osorio not to not to realize that and not make the adjustments. It was unfortunate. So again, Mexico had the luxury of winning their first two games, and they had the 6 points. So it's not like there's the people can say que pasaron por panzazo. That's one thing. And yeah, they did fall apart in this last game, but they were the only Olympic participants. They were the only ones that could lose and still qualify. No one else in the group could say that.
Hey, John, the refereeing, I'm just going to go back to it because it was a bizarre game. I mean, there was a Chicharito handball in the box.
Clear, man, clear.
Well,
here's my thing. Was it clear? Because I saw the hand hit his arm and his body at the same time. That, my friends, is what they call inconclusive evidence. There was no video of it. Remember, what the VAR does, it has to overturn a call. There was not enough evidence.
I mean,
to say that was a handball.
So he turned it into a corner kick.
Well, it already was a corner kick.
It was a corner. He left it as a corner, but they did go to VAR, and I think even Chicharito was like you could see. Look,
Chicharito thought it was a penalty, man.
Chicharito said no fue mano because I was reading the lips, and he said no es penal, no mames, no es penal, is what he was saying. I'm serious. Those were his.
I mean, John,
and it wasn't a penalty, but again, it has to be.
It could have been. So maybe
it could have been. And before I forget, you know who was refereeing the Korea-Germany game?
Mark Geiger.
Yes, Geiger. Son Geiger, dude, get it right.
No, pero in that Korea game, like the first goal when they said he was offside, he was on. It was VAR made the right decision there. But see, to me, the whole thing about VAR, and remember that it's not VAR that makes the decision; it's the referee. And if they show him, on the Chicharito play again, did it touch his arm? Yes, but it also touched his body at the same time. And I think that's what the ref was saying, is that I don't know what it touched first. And because of that, then, I mean, the very first replay I saw, I said, oh, that's not a handball. That touched his body. And so that one didn't bother me as much. Now, I know that...
like a few minutes later, there was a handball.
Seriously, so you want to spend our the little bit of time talking about the pinche ref?
Yes, man.
Come on.
Well, first he insults our beloved 80s movies.
Yeah.
Now he wants to talk about the ref.
Dude, we always talk about the ref.
This match.
Well, I will say where I do agree with Juan is that the referee's decisions, at least in the first 10, 15 minutes of the game, set the tone for the entire match. And it put a player, particularly Jesus Gallardo, completely on his heels. Now, but so I do agree, Juan, that the ref had unfortunately for Mexico, an adverse effect. I mean, let's face it. Sweden, from the very beginning, they played a final, right? And Mexico didn't, and that's
boom. You know what, John? Their players seem to be calm. You know what I mean? Like they like a calm focus.
They were, and I saw Mexico at the beginning before the himno, and they were coming out and they were smiling and laughing. I think that they thought they had pan cocido for whatever reason. And
you know what? And JCO in the past, he before the World Cup, I remember he said that Sweden played very similar to Serbia and to Iceland, and so that he was very comfortable playing against them. But I think, to be honest, the Swedish guys, I mean, Iceland's a tall team, fairly tall, but the Swedish,
but they're not as experienced as Sweden.
No, to me, Sweden, they have even bigger size. Like they're bulkier. They outweigh Iceland.
They have
physically.
More girth.
Yeah, they have more girth. They had a couple players that
meteor.
I know you like that part. They had a couple players beyond the Iceland size. So I think what I would like to see in the next coming cycles is to play more against Sweden.
Yeah, but they're not going to be able to. But they always play. Man, they've played Sweden and Denmark more and Moleros than just about any other. Well, maybe Iceland too. They play Scandinavian teams all the time. It should not have been a surprise to them the way that that Sweden played. And to me, and I guess that to me was the most baffling part for me in watching this game, is that if you knew that Sweden was going to do that, then why not?
But I don't think they played against this much size. John. Even like Honduras, any of the Central American,
Yeah,
Panama.
but again, Juan, it's not like they've never played Sweden before or Denmark or Iceland. I mean, when they have their Molero in January,
No, see, that's what I'm
nine
saying.
times
Like
out of 10,
Sweden's a
it's a
way better
Scandinavian
team
team.
than those teams.
But
They're
that's
more
fine.
effective at this.
Mexico's a good team too, man. But the thing was
No,
is that today that Mexico, for whatever reason, their heads were not in the game at all, and it almost and shame on them because it almost cost them a chance. I thought they were 3-0 because I thought there was no way that Germany was not going to lose that. I mean, seriously. I mean,
yeah,
who
yeah.
thought Korea was going to score not once but twice? I mean, that was crazy. Now here are
Well,
the
I think
implications.
Mexico let
Hang on
down
a second.
Korea, man.
Yeah.
Because what kind of score did Korea need to qualify? Did they need Mexico?
They needed Mexico to win, and they needed Korea, and Korea had to win by at least 2 goals.
And they did their job.
They did their job. Yeah, for them, yeah, they were outstanding work by the Koreans. Now here are the implications for so Mexico, instead of being in a bracket that includes Russia, Spain, Croatia, and Denmark, they now go to the side of the bracket that includes Uruguay, Portugal, Francia, Argentina. Not to mention, they're probably, again, we can't make any kinds of assumptions for just for what's happened with Argentina and everybody else. But the conventional wisdom says that Brazil will win their group and Mexico plays Brazil.
Yeah.
And they're on that side of the bracket.
And
now
you like that matchup better, John?
Well, I will say this about Brazil. Mexico is and I've said this for the past 6 months on the show. For whatever reason, of los grandes, los gigantes, Mexico plays Brazil better than any of them, and they've already beaten Germany. Now, I don't think that Germany's a terrible. Now I know they ended up last in the group, but I think that the German arrogance, especially in the Mexico game, is what cost them their chance to advance.
But John, Germany had been struggling leading into the World Cup.
Joel, a German team that struggles makes the World Cup final but loses. I mean,
I know, but I think to me it's like in one of their friendly games, somewhere down the line, someone cracked their code, man. Someone figured them out, and then the other team saw this is how you have to play them, and they just weren't able.
You have to play them like a South American side. I mean, that's just. I mean, they played South American soccer for.
But I think that's what happened to Mexico with Sweden. I think Johnny Anderson, who's their coach, I think he figured it out, man, and.
Yeah, but he had it figured out a long time ago. He had it figured out a long time ago.
And he made Chucky disappear, man. So
he did.
Next game, I think if you're the coach and you have Mexico, you just study that game and you kind of have a good idea of it.
But here's the thing, Joel, is if Mexico plays Brazil in the next game, Chucky's gonna play 2 wing backs que no les importan ni madres. Not going up with Marcelo and I forget who the other guy is. That's all
I don't know, man. I don't know.
Oh, dude, yeah, they leave tons of spaces.
Exactly.
I think his tactic, man, it got hacked.
Yeah, but I don't think Marcelo's gonna be.
Well, Chucky was also, but again, this is Sweden, who was a defensive team, and I'm telling you, they had, as Joel pointed out, I mean, they had Mexico dead to rights. They knew exactly how Mexico was going to play. Now, profe.
Mexico played into their hands too.
Of course they did. Yeah, that's what they were. They played. They played the way they were fully expecting them how to play. You're absolutely right. Now, profe, I know that hindsight's 2020, right? So you know how that Sweden's going to play. I mean, honestly, did the Sweden coach have to say on the press conference, we're going to play defensively, work for set pieces and hit Mexico on the count? I mean, honestly, was that a big surprise? So knowing that going in, guesses, profe, guesses.
You can do 2 things. Either just give them the ball and try to, darles de su propia medicina. That's like option A.
I think that would have worked, man.
Of course it would have worked. It did work. It did work because every time that they were trying to build from the back, Mexico they pressured them into bad passes, or they intercepted, or they just gave it away.
And I think too, Chucky he seems to excel. Anytime he's, he can get past the defenders' backs, when he's running at their backs, when the defenses say it's a little harder, you need guys more like Tecatito, who, for some reason he was having, I guess he had a bad first game. What was it against Germany? the last.
So how would you give them possession then, Profe? What would you do to give them possession?
Well, you just don't push up your lines, man. You just from the goalie. Everybody, drops inside
Puro
our half.
despeje from the goalie, right? Puro despeje from the goalie. 50-50 ball.
Play a long ball to their backs and put. I mean, you could play. You know what I was thinking? I know a 3-5-2, man. I think a 3-5-2 with two forwards to pressure their back line into
other
play.
Forward would you have played today, given what
to win that secondary ball? You guys, that's been one of the themes on the show for the last few years. I think under Piojo, right?
So who would you have started as your forwards then?
Dude, I think you go with I think Chicha and Cepillo would have been fine. They had a good chemistry a few years back under Chepo. You could see it building. And you've seen it. So I think 3-5-2, man. Or
all right. So you say Peralta and Chicharo. See, I personally would have started Jimenez from the very beginning, because Jimenez to me is a guy that can win balls in the air. He is more technical than although Chicharito has, in my opinion, had an outstanding World Cup. I know he's got his goal, but he today he was a little, maybe it wasn't his best game, but he was still decent. And go ahead, Joel.
Yeah, no, he's good with his back at goal.
I mean, he was helping Mexico retain possession. I think Jimenez would have been another one that would do that. I would have much rather have seen Mexico have 50-50 balls in, right outside Sweden's attacking third than right outside theirs. And that was that. I mean, they just. I mean, to me, Salcedo and the defenders, when it wasn't there, just send a hopeful ball down to the wing. Yeah, ¿qué pasa? The possession to me wasn't that important today. Sweden is not as good at possession as Mexico, so why not play into their weakness? And just like Sweden played into Mexico. So.
And John, this leads to the question: was Osorio conditioned? Because he got us used to those 8-man, 5-man rotation.
No, I thought honestly. I mean, I wasn't expecting that many. I mean, you can't go to a World Cup and play Korea with 10. I mean, it was just never going to happen. So,
but
I personally believe that he probably should have started Ayala instead of Alvarez. Although I think Edson had a great game offensively. I think that he was one of Mexico's most dangerous players, but he was out of his element and out of his league going up against really experienced wingers. And they repeatedly would, with him pinching into the center, which he instinctively does because he's a central or a contención by trade. That with him pinching inside and Layun giving him no help at all to cover the backside guy. It was. So I would have had Salcedo back there.
I agree that he had to concentrate a bit more on the defensive end, because you're going up against a Sweden team that they went up against some real powerhouses during qualifiers. They went up against France. They went up against Holland, and then they had to do a playoffs against Italy. And they had to have a lot. They were defensively. That was one of their main strengths.
Yeah, so I would have personally liked to have seen that switch back, and so that was an unfortunate for me. Now, Joel, you don't put your coach hat on very often.
No.
But I'm going to ask you to put your coach hat on now.
It's tinfoil.
Well, no, not your hat is not a tinfoil hat. You are correct. But ponte tu gorra de coach.
It is, yeah.
Y ponte tu silbato, right? Y dinos, Joel. Knowing what you know about Sweden, knowing how they were going to play, what would you have done to try and get the result that Mexico needed?
Oh man, pretty much same what you said, man. I mean, I don't think I would have gone. And this is the difficult for me, because I didn't get to see the second half. I just saw the first half. I felt they played pretty good on the first half. I don't expect, and then the team melted right away with the early goal. But I think just they had to be more cautious, not arriesgar the ball and try to keep the ball in their half. Force them to play it out.
Right. The most dangerous chances in the first half when the game was still 0-0 were caused by Mexico's pressure on the Sweden salida. So,
and the
knowing
one,
that was working for you, ¿por qué no lo haces más?
yeah, and what I kept hearing, because I was listening to second half on the radio, was just some bad passes, like Mexico giving away possession easily, and that's that's one of the things you don't want to do, just give away the ball, and so like in some of those instances, just boot it to their area, just keep the ball at their side of the field.
Right.
That was from my pub team, Sunday pub team. That's in a really bad.
Who was
really,
it?
That's a Panadero team, man.
Ron brings up Russo Bogowski once talking about about how you control the match and this and that. He said possession is never an indicator of controlling the game. He said I'm happy to give the other team more possession, and doesn't necessarily mean that I've lost control of the match. And I don't think Mexico ever had control of that match.
Well, I mean, if you have possession, if you have possession, you can control the other team. I just think too, if to play possession against Sweden, where they're gonna sit back and try to hit you on the counter, you probably, maybe like Yun doesn't play, maybe Tecatito starts, maybe Marco Fabian instead of Vela, because Marco Fabian came in and right away he was a threat from outside the 18. He had a
right,
or maybe even play like a doble enganche, man. With Marco Fabian and Vela. And maybe just a forward. Maybe Raul Jimenez is a forward for them, so like a 3-5-2. But Vela is not necessarily as a straight up forward. Maybe a mobile. I mean, there's different approaches I think you could take. I think the fact that Osorio didn't really change his approach or try something, I guess he got too confident, or maybe the players got overconfident because.
And also, you know what? The pressure was in Sweden because Mexico came in pretty much, with all the cards in their favor as far as being qualified. And Sweden was a team that had to look for the result.
Yeah.
But Sweden was happy to let Mexico play themselves into giving them opportunities, because they knew that sooner or later Mexico would get frustrated, or they would they'd make the loose pass around midfield, with their defenders up. I mean, the first goal itself came off a Mexican corner kick where Mexico kept throwing centros into the area, and the defense never got set, so they finally push it out, and instead of kicking it back to the goalie to give the defenders a chance to run back and reset themselves, I think this was Gallardo. I think that he kept pushing forward, and the defenders unfortunately just never got back in time, and it ended up from that point Mexico was the field was unbalanced, and the defenders did get back, but they weren't in a position to defend appropriately, and it just ended up costing them. And that's the kind of stuff to me that was baffling to me. It's like, what? Okay, on the corner kick, if you don't get the chance, unless if it's like a crazy, I mean, you just start running back. Forget about it. Because you're not scoring is not as bad as them scoring. And I just don't think that Mexico had the right. I thought that even against Germany, where they played as close to a perfect game as you possibly could, I thought that they needed that kind of performance again today, because they could not afford to commit unforced errors, knowing that Sweden was fully expecting them to do so, and I mean they served them up on a platter.
Hey, John. What surprises me overall the most is that Osorio prides himself, one of his founding tenets as a manager is that he's gonna deny the opponent their strengths, right? And it does, and so I think, for example, in the corners, instead of playing a short corner to keep possession, and kind of just burn time off the clock, they would swing it into the box and playing into Sweden's defense, the strength,
Right.
So what the hell was he? Has he been? And then you had the crowd doing the ole and singing "Silite Lindo" after the first 10 minutes or so. I don't know, man. Maybe it was just everybody was too cocky about it.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly, and the players, at least, based on reports we've heard, and I haven't caught anything since we went on the air, but yeah, that's Mexico, Soberbia and Mexico never go well, especially at a tournament like this, especially against a team like that. So hopefully that'll, humble them a little bit more because, they're not, from this point on, if they want to keep playing the tournament, they're not going to be playing teams that are quote unquote manageable. They are going to be playing the cream of the crop from here on out. It, regardless, it's punto y aparte.
Hey, what do you think? Do you think it was a group of death? Like after once the dust settles.
Well, obviously.
Yeah, grupo de la muerte.
You can't have 6 points and still, and still with high possibilities of getting knocked out, or even Korea still had a chance of going in.
I'm curious if I know that I felt this way, and I'm curious if other folks felt this way. Was after when Cruz scored that goal, so I was in the pool at my sister's house having a great, having a few cervezas, having a great time. We're floating around. It's a lovely afternoon. Mexico won 2-1. Sweden was on the verge of drawing Germany, which would put Mexico automatically into the next round. Ni fu ni fa. And we're just having a good time. All of a sudden we hear, I think it was Sammy Salone, because we were listening to Telemundo yell. He had a terrific call, just an outstanding call. And we were telling my brother-in-law, we don't have to watch the game. We just have to listen to just listen to the way the announcer calls it, and we'll know what happened. And sure enough, he did that, and we're like, oh man. And from that moment on, and I wonder if this is the same for for other Mexico fans. This game made me nervous as hell. I was anxious for 4 days, the whole time. I could not. Yeah, it was.
You're the one.
I'm not. Hey, I think that Rigo would say he was the same way. So.
Because Rigo right away he saw. He didn't make any subs. That's a bad omen. Like he was, it's just like. John, I'm watching the Brazil game. I don't know if you guys are watching it, and what we just said about Marcelo. It looks like he's gonna be subbed out injured, and it's like the 10th.
Really?
The game is tied 0-0.
Oh, I see. It looks like Leandro Augusto's coming in to take his place.
Yeah, it does look like him, huh?
I would say Leandro Augusto brasileño, but of course Leandro Augusto was a Brazilian. Leandro Augusto.
Era chilango.
He's a brasileño. He's gonna be Pumas' next coach.
Oh, interesting.
So yeah, Marcelo subbed out. That's definitely, and Felipe Luis is taking his wearing the great number 6 worn by one of my favorite players as a kid, Junior. Joel, remember Junior?
There's a lot of juniors.
No, he was the Junior.
The
Junior.
Oh man.
Yeah, no, he was
Junior. No.
Okay. So Mexico is awaiting the winner of this group, and again, no está asegurado que sea Brasil. It could be Brazil, it could be Serbia, it could be Switzerland. Based on what we've seen today, I firmly believe that Mexico's best chances are going to be against Brazil.
Against Brazil?
I do, because I don't think Brazil has played as well as people have hoped, and I just think that Mexico plays Brazil, as good as they play anybody in the world. And, the way that Mexico played that game against Sweden, I'm sure Brazil is going to go, this is going to be a flan for us. And, Mexico's never a flan for Brazil, and they haven't been ever. So I think that could be. And you know what? And here's my other thing. If you beat Germany and you beat Brazil in a World Cup, entonces ganas el mundial. The last team that did that was Italy, and they won the World Cup. So it obviously, has to be true. If you go through those two teams, dale.
Oh boy.
So that's my personal opinion. Now, Joel, who would you rather see? Germany? I'm sorry, not Germany. Brazil, Serbia, or Switzerland?
Serbia.
You want to see Serbia? Okay.
Yes.
All right. Why Serbia, Joel?
Actually, I don't think Mex matches well with any of these teams right now. But I would say, just from the three, I would say that. Damn, Juan, are you okay?
Yeah, no kidding.
¿Qué comiste, güey?
My question is, how big is your microphone to be able to capture that?
My bad, dude. I didn't think the mic would catch it.
Yeah, Juan ripping ass. So anyway.
He lost his train of thought completely.
I did.
So, okay, so you're saying you don't match up well against either of these teams?
I think none. I mean, I agree with you about Brazil. I think Mexico does well against Brazil, but I think this Brazil team, I think that just wouldn't be the case. And then I feel like Switzerland tiene las pilas, and then Serbia seems kind of scrappy. They remind me a bit of the Croatia team that Mexico has beaten before, so I'll pick Serbia just for that.
Well, Mexico has done well. They in the 2012 Olympics, they had a do or die against Switzerland, and they were able to get the result there with Oribe and I think Giovanni scoring goals in that game. So, I mean, there is precedence against all three. But with what we saw today, and knowing the styles of both Serbia and Switzerland, Brazil's style suits Mexico better than either Serbia or Switzerland. Although I don't think that Serbia is as good as Sweden, I do think that Switzerland is a very good team. But you know what? But that's, I mean, honestly, I mean, from this point on, I mean, no van a jugar contra Togo, no van a jugar contra Nicaragua. This isn't the Gold Cup. I mean, you're going to play a good team regardless of who comes out. So I mean that's the world. This is what you. I mean, this is why you play this stupid tournament. So you have to play teams like this to advance.
You know what, John? Serbia it doesn't really seem like a team that looks for the 50-50 though, the way Sweden did. Maybe Switzerland's. I haven't really paid attention to them. Are they more that? Because Serbia is actually like putting the ball on the ground, trying to make 1-2s and trying to, take shots. I think.
Well, what I'm saying is that I think that Serbia would it would suit them better to play the way Sweden did than it would Mexico.
Yeah, but I don't think Serbia, is very much like Sweden. I think Sweden is like a unique. I think they're unique. Even England doesn't really, have that style, that English style, long ball, body these guys up.
It is 0-0 right now between Serbia and Brazil, and over in wherever it is that Switzerland is playing Costa Rica, it is also 0-0. So that's where we are right now with those games. So if this result holds at 0-0, both games in Mexico would face Brazil because they would win the group with 5 points. Switzerland would then play Sweden, so that people can be confused even more between Switzerland and Sweden.
Suecia. What?
So there you have it.
So what do you guys think? Mexico is good for one meltdown per tournament. I think they did it in Copa America, they did it in Confeds under JCO. I can't remember a meltdown specifically in the Gold Cup, but it was a different.
His assistant,
his assistant, I guess, was more had a little bit more, or at least the rumor is his assistant. Or he
didn't Osorio come back though for the Jamaica loss?
I can't remember, John.
Yeah, I mean again at this point, I mean Mexico's el objetivo cumplido, but again here to me a huge missed opportunity to a huge missed opportunity. I mean, this was like 2010, where instead of playing Argentina in the second round, they could have played Korea and then played Ghana in the quarterfinals.
And as well in 2006, because the team failed to beat a team like
Angola,
who was down a man. They played.
Yeah, but that one, it was either Holland or Argentina, so it was really never. The Cruce was never going to be good there either way.
So, you know what? I didn't finish my question. So my question is, do you think is that a good omen? since they got their meltdown out of the way and they still advance?
Well, I will say this. I think that how can you not learn from this? And to his credit, and I think that this is why Chicharito has been Mexico's most important player this tournament. They don't have Rafa and Guardado for whatever reason is not that style of a leader. The one who was talking to the team at the end of the game wasn't Osorio. It was Chicharito, man. He was the one that was. This is his team. It's time for if Mexico's going to do anything in the knockouts, it's going to be on his shoulders. It's going to be on his shoulders, and so I do applaud Chicharito for taking the mantle of leadership, which is what this team has needed. And he was. I mean, even after when they did his penalty, I mean, he was doing the rah stuff. I mean, he's the one, and it looks like no. And so this is why they're here. This is why they're here. So whether a quien sea, jugar a quien sea. Again, I do think that any Mexico fan, including us, on June 14th when the tournament started, we say 6 puntos y avanzan en segundo. 100% of Mexico fans would have said, "Where do I sign?
I'll take it."
Yep. No importa cómo llegar, hay que saber llegar. And Mexico has known how to llegar since 1986. And you know what? There's only one other team that can say that, and that's Brazil.
Used to be Germany.
And there's and that's as of with what 72 minutes to go in their match. I mean, they could be eliminated today too.
Hey, John, and it used to be Mexico, Brazil, Germany in that group. So
that's right, and now it's just Mexico, Brazil.
Yeah, so Mexico's with the elite company now. Brazil's
and I'll tell you what, it makes that Korea game, the Mexico one, just how huge is that? What if Mexico ties that game with Korea? Korea would be through instead of Mexico.
Oof, oh, yeah.
So once again, Chicharito to the rescue for Mexico. Once again, his goal is the reason why Mexico's in the second round.
And some people have Mexico going 3-0, so you're right. Some of us would take this.
Joel didn't even have Mexico advancing. Joel had him done. Yeah. Pan tostado.
And you know what? I would have gotten away with it if it wasn't for that.
Los pinches coreanos.
Korean. But I think Germany with that big 3-0 loss, and I think just Germany losing to Korea says a lot about the state of that team. If you look at the qualifiers for Korea, they had very difficult time just getting out of there. And I know it's they say it's 2 tournaments, but I still think it gives you like a good idea of how strong those team is. And they were having a hard time in a group with like Uzbekistan.
Sure.
And some really low tier teams.
I firmly believe that the best player of Group F has been Son.
Son Juan.
I mean, he is outstanding. He is outstanding.
Han Yonson?
Whatever his name is. I'm not sure what it is. I know that on the back of his Tottenham shirt it says Son, so I call him Son. I don't want to mispronounce the first part of his name. Oh, I caught it. I'm just, I'm trying to be professional.
All right.
Trying to be professional. But anyway, no, I think he was the best player of the group.
No, yeah, I think he's been on the list for some EPL teams.
He's on Tottenham. He's not going to another EPL team. If he goes anywhere, he's going to go to one of the mega big boys.
Oh man, like that, huh, John?
I mean, if you were Real Madrid, would you sign Chucky or would you sign?
Oh man, why are you taking it there?
No, I'm just saying.
Hey, that's below the belt, John.
It's not below the belt. I'm not.
No, I know what you mean.
Son is a jugador hecho y derecho. Son is a proven player. He's proven himself. Yeah.
And in a bigger league too.
Yeah, exactly. Chucky can. I mean, if Chucky goes to the EPL or Spain and kicks ass, then he's absolutely going to be on Real Madrid's radar.
Well, I think his dad said there are approaches from Barca, but I mean, I don't think he would play. He wouldn't be a starter, but I don't know if he'd get enough playing time.
I mean, they'll sign him.
I would love for Chucky to go. If he's going to go anywhere this year, I would love for him to go to a Spanish team that's playing Europa League. That to me is where I would love to see Chucky play.
I don't think they can afford him, dude. I think England's probably the only.
But you're probably right. But he is playing in the Champions League this year because PSV is in the Champions League. So I think that
Yeah, they could hold on to him for
exactly,
that.
Exactly. And if he has if he has a great Champions League, then yeah, he's going to go wherever he wants. Okay, so Mexico awaiting the winner of the Group E fallout. Right now, as it stands, it's still 0-0 in Moscow, where Serbia is playing Brazil, and over in another town whose name I don't know. It doesn't tell me on the thing. It's still 0-0 between
Petersburg,
Switzerland and Croatia. I thought they were because they were in St. Petersburg yesterday. I think that they're like in Kazan. I think is where they are today, in Kazan. So Mexico would have played in St. Petersburg had they won or drawn the match against Sweden, but instead they're going to Samansk, I think, to play their or some Chingao. They're all confused to me. I can't remember what the name is. Sonora. Does that sound right?
Sonora.
No, not Sonora. Oh, they're playing in Nizhny Novgorod right now. The Costa Rica and Switzerland and Nizhny.
And they're 0-0, dude.
Yeah, 0-0 across the board. All right, so gentlemen, we will be back on Thursday, Thursday night, our regular time, where all the group stages will have been played out, and we will then be able to do our see where we stood on the group stage. We'll count up the points, see who's in the lead, and then do our knockouts. Para ver cómo termina todo. So everyone gets a borrón y nueva cuenta, but they have numeritos en el banco, and we'll see how that played out.
Hey, John.
Yes, sir.
And Argentina made it through, man, even despite their dysfunctions, you know.
Well, and we'll talk about it tomorrow night. But I mean, I would be scared to death of Argentina right now. They to me are the most dangerous team in the knockouts.
Is that like a wounded tiger?
Let's do it this way. Would you rather go into the knockouts the way Argentina did, going de menos a más, or like Mexico did, going de más a menos?
Well, you give me a tough question there, John. I think I'm gonna go with Jolie's response. It's a tournament of two. The World Cup is two tournaments, so they passed the first one now.
Yeah,
I mean the group stage, and then the tournament begins once you get into the finals.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is the true tournament right here.
But I don't think Argentina went from menos a más. I think they just panzazo, you know.
Well, let me put you this way. Who was? I mean, they the pressure's off of them. The pressure's off of them now, and who would you rather have? Yeah, the pressure's kind of off Mexico too.
Yeah, you know what? In a sense, it is, but much more is expected from this Mexican team because, the whole the elusive quinto partido, and so it would be seen maybe not like a full fracaso just because they beat Germany, but then I do think Korea beating Germany kind of cheapens it a bit. You know what I mean?
I don't think so because
I think Mexico gave them the knockout punch. Dude.
I mean, Korea beat Germany in el minuto 92 y el minuto 97.
Still whooped it, man. It's like
so. And then the second goal was an empty netter, Joel, for God's sake. So
yeah,
please,
I mean,
por favor.
Nor was over there on the inside.
I mean, if we're going to go to use the transitive property, pero Alemania le ganó a Suecia, el equipo que le ganó a México 3-0. So, which one is more cheapened?
And finally, we can say el fútbol is it's a game of 22 players, and in the end, Germany didn't win this time, right?
Y Corea siempre gana. Joel, yeah, Germany ended up in dead last place. Germany was beaten in this World Cup by a team from CONCACAF and a team from the Asian Confederation. But they beat the European team.
Yeah, well, I mean, to me, that's what I'm saying. I think something happened to Germany just before the World Cup, and you even had the coach leaving this one top striker from Man City. He cut him out.
Leroy Sané.
Yeah, Leroy.
I don't think he's a world beater, though, dude. I mean, he's a good player. No, I
know, but to me, it's like something must have been going on. That's just the way I see it. Tinfoil cap on. I think something was going on, something happened, and they started severely underperforming pretty bad, man. and they looked pretty awful.
Well, they didn't. I mean, it wasn't like they weren't generating chances, Joel. I mean, they just weren't finishing them, and that was what has always defined Germany. As I mean, so it wasn't like they were playing terribly. They created a ton of chances in their last. But again, this is a team that scored 2 goals in 3 games, so I don't necessarily think that they had, if they had internal strife, so they just missed. I mean, and Germany never misses, and they just missed.
The German attack, anytime it's in Russia, in the summer, it breaks down, and if they, so, and I think this is their 3rd time venturing into Russia, where they fall apart, right?
No le funcionó.
No le funciona el ataque. Alemania.
We're just like the English tabloids whenever England plays Germany, and they break out. They always show the players in the World War I helmets and stuff.
Yeah,
it's always interesting. Yeah, so Joel, you're right. I mean, obviously, if this was the Germany that we all would have expected, then Germany would have gone through, and it would have either been Sweden or Mexico or even Korea. I mean, so in retrospect, this was probably this one along with the France, Peru, Denmark group, I think were definitely the ones that were the most competitive, and then we get a joy of a group tomorrow early. Grupo H, which has been my favorite. I mean, those games have all been just incredibly entertaining. We get Colombia, Senegal. ¿Quién va a dar el baile between those two and Poland, who's already out against Japan, and Japan, Colombia, and Senegal all have very good chances to make. They control their own destiny to make the next round. So that is going to be an exciting. And of course, the other group is going to be Belgium playing England, and it's going to decide who gets first and second, and then Panama hopefully will get their triunfo for CONCACAF, because right now, as it stands, Mexico is the only team from CONCACAF that has qualified for the knockouts. Costa Rica will not make it, and neither will
Panama,
obviously. And Serbia playing defense against Brazil, denying Gabriel Jesus a chance to score. Gentlemen, rapidito, you guys have anything else to say before we wrap it up here?
I think it's going to be interesting to see how the Mexican media reacts. I was listening to some of the shows leading into this match, and everyone seemed to be on the Osorio bandwagon. I don't know if you guys caught this on Spicy Soccer. They made a phone call to La Volpe, and Faitelson was trying to egg him on.
And even had La Volpe jumped onto the bench? Well, I mean, again, the dude won his 2 first World Cup games. What more? So of course now they're going to all jump off and say, "You see, Osorio was the terrible coach we told you he was."
Well, but then it's like I'm telling you that the Korean beating Germany kind of cheapens the win for us.
Well, even if Korea drew Germany, Mexico was still through, Joel. So
no, I know, but I mean now it's like, it's like it doesn't seem that impressive anymore of a win.
I think Jolie says he wanted to be the only one. He wanted to.
Joel, anytime that you
have another Meno beating them, man. That's like you beat the bully,
it's not a Meno,
and your little brother beats his ass too the next day, and it's like, it just.
Well, who cares? I mean, you beat the defending World Cup champion, 4-time champion, prohibitive favorite to win the tournament again, the tournament favorite to win the tournament again.
That was the first time Germany loses.
Here's the way I see it,
right, John?
It's 1982. Here's the way I saw that game, Joel. I think that Germany shocked the hell out of Mexico, and I don't think they ever recovered from it.
Yeah,
that's what I think happened to Germany in the World Cup.
Yep.
They couldn't get their mojo back.
See, that's why I'm saying. To me, they lost it before the World Cup. They lost some of that, and it reminds me of Brazil. Even though they did make the final,
but it's not like Germany played badly against Mexico. I mean,
I know they didn't.
chances.
I know they didn't, but it's night and day from the team that could put an alternative squad and still win the Confederations. So I mean, it reminds me of Brazil going into the '98 World Cup, and they were just steamrolling all these teams, and then they play a friendly against Norway and Oslo, and they lose. And it was the first time they lost, but to me, it's like, you're scouting those teams, you're seeing what the other team did or how they beat them, and you sort of like figure it out. But to me, that's what happened to Germany, and to me, that's what happened to Mexico in this game against Sweden, where it's like they just figure out how to, how to beat them or how to shut down certain players. And I think that's going to help whatever team Mexico faces next. Because I don't think Mexico has that many variantes. Is see like maybe 3 that we have, and I think they already like took him out already, one fell swoop. Again, I hope I'm wrong, but that's my take.
Well, let me put it this way: do you think that if Mexico plays Brazil, they're going to be worried about what Mexico's doing? Honestly,
I think yes. I think to an extent they will take precautions. I don't think they'll like double mark someone, but I do think they're not gonna go in blindly, like not, because, and I do think like seeing that they beat Germany, that they're gonna be like, okay, then they could, and then being Brazil, that they know that Mexico's beat them before. So I don't think
So you're gonna find a way to cheapen Mexico beating Germany and Brazil in the World Cup. Is that what you're saying,
yes, but Costa Rica's losing 1-0. So as it stands, Switzerland's first in the group, right? If the whole score's all
Switzerland, that is correct. Switzerland 1-0. That means that Switzerland wins the group. If Brazil and Serbia tie, you're exactly correct. So once again, Costa Rica doing Mexico's dirty work. No, I'm just kidding. All right. Well, Juan, before we go, any have any other thoughts?
John, I think I don't know if the players mentally recover or emotionally or mentally recover from the Sweden loss.
Well, I'll tell you what, if they need an example, they need to look right at Sweden, because the way that Sweden reacted after Germany scored that goal Saturday afternoon was, I mean, they looked like they were devastated. I mean, it looked like someone showed them a picture of their dead dog. I mean, they looked so upset. Damn. They were just, but I think but Edson Alvarez apparently was totally beside himself.
Yeah,
so
I mean,
he might not be.
So hey, do we ask Ibarrondo for a refund? Because
his work is cut out for him. His work is cut out for him now.
Edson was broke at the beginning of the game, man.
Oh, Chiquis,
you're coming on just as we're jumping off.
Llegó a barrer, Chiquis.
That's right. He's coming.
Hey, Shaqiri's on the ground. Another positive for Mexico.
Shaqiri.
Oh,
I have a question. ¿Cómo es posible? I think eso es en la Eurocopa, que Shakira pueda anotar un gol de chilena para Suiza cuando es colombiana.
Cuando es colombiana. It's not Shaqiri. It's Shaqiri, dude.
Oh, Shaqiri. I thought you said Shakira.
No.
Oh, okay.
So what I'll say is that Edson came into the match.
What's that?
He was not playing well from the very start.
Oh, golazo! Sorry, Chiquis, but golazo right now from Brazil.
Oh,
they're up.
Paulinho.
Yeah, I'm expecting Brazil. Easily.
Oh, sure.
For Mexico. But yeah, Edson Alvarez wasn't playing well. I could tell from the very beginning. I guess that's not a position you want to change out. But yeah, it's tough for him. I expressed my rant on the Twitter, so I guess you guys can continue on. But yeah, I'm glad that they qualified, but it's typical Mexican occurrences that happen in the World Cup. De Panzazo and the frustration from Layun is typical mentality that comes from Mexico. I don't see JCO changing too much, even after the Germany win. But
they got 6 points, Beto. That's not Panzazo.
Yeah. Oh, it is Panzazo, dude, when you're depending on someone else.
It's not typical, dude. Like in 94, they had the group of death, and they won it, right? Didn't they? They had Ireland, Norway, and
Italy.
You're praying until the very end. You're hoping for results from other teams. You're praying. It's coming down to the wire. And then what is it all for? To get to the fourth game?
Again, Chiquis, does it matter how you get through as long as you get through?
It does matter. It doesn't matter at all as long as you get through. But like you've already talked about, the fitness of these
Do you
teams,
think
the mentality? How is it going to be?
They went in the group stage, de panzazo, if they're in the semifinal or the final?
I mentioned on Twitter, it's pretty funny that a huge team like Argentina has their fans and even announcers celebrating as if they won the World Cup after a mediocre group stage. Yes, they advanced. Yes, Mexico should be proud and celebrate an advancement, but like over celebration is not good.
Well, the problem for Mexico, unfortunately, is the Mexico and their fans celebrated after the Korea game, so they thought that this was just a partido de trámite, and neither the players nor the fans, for that matter, had any kind of. Everyone was, everyone was already planning their celebrations.
And speaking of celebrations, can you say Mexico la Cruz Azulió?
Well, no, because to me, a Cruz Azuleada is when you have the lead and then you blow it late. That to me is a Cruz Azuleada.
I know, but they changed it.
Who changed?
The Mexico fans, because it became a meme, and then it was just any team losing. It became that someone in the stands was wearing a Cruz Azul, and that's why they lost. And so interesting thing happened where
if you're the favorite favorite going in,
some Mexico fans started going around in the World Cup and giving or exchanging Cruz Azul jerseys to to fans of the other team. And I know superstitious, but I'm gonna say they brought some bad juju for that.
Yeah, they were definitely laying it on thick.
They sullied time-honored tradition of I think it's a nice tradition where
Cruz Azuleada should happen naturally. You shouldn't force it.
Yeah. So I think it came back and it bit them, man.
It's like feeding the gremlins after midnight.
Yeah, and it's kind of messed up, man. Come on, someone's wishing you well. Why do you want to put something bad on them?
Yeah, I mean, imagine if they put a Chivas shirt on them. I mean, how awful would that be?
Oh, come on, John. Come on, John. That's.
You know what? I'm gonna blame some Cruz Azul fans because there was a banner up in one of the games. They had a banner up with the Cruz Azul, and there are Cruz Azul fans with Mexico. And
did you see the Chicharito goal again? The Chicharito goal that put Mexico into the knockouts. Did you see the banners that were behind the goal for that one?
Hey, John.
Did you see the banners, Profe?
John, you should work for Cruz Azul, man.
They were
You
Pumas.
should work for
Pumas banners.
Never mind. I thought you were going to say Cruz Azul, man.
No,
but you could still work for Pumas PR and make
we need more Pumas banners for next game.
And more scores.
And Leandro Augusto.
Leandro Augusto's playing for Brazil right now.
Yeah, man. Mexico ran out of their meme power, their meme magic of Cruz Azulear. They ran out of their Saguinho, mojo. Everything just.
Yeah, the other thing that they did a little too much was the creamos en cosas chingones. That did not take off the way it was supposed to.
It was like when they take the mantle from the table and when they pull it away.
I just thought Paulinho's. You're right, Joel. That was a golazo just by the athletic player.
Oh yeah, man!
Get it over the goalie. That was incredible. Yeah. Oof. Pero ni modo. All right, gentlemen. So are Profe, you gonna be able to join us tomorrow night? Do a little post group stage. We'll talk the World Cup in its entirety. I think that'll be.
Yeah, I think so, John. I think a little late, but yeah, I'll be on.
Get all our bad Mexico commentary juju out.
And feature dogs, Juan.
Yeah, I mean, seriously.
I might have to call animal control on your ass.
Do it. I'm going to call Trump on your ass. I'm sorry.
Damn.
My bad. I went too far.
Man, the Profe bringing the heat. Bringing the heat. All right, gentlemen. Well, glad you were able to hop on. I think this was a good idea. I don't know if we do appreciate the folks that were on the chat that were with us. We had Bobby Tucker, Tony Medina, and MJP. MJP siempre está con nosotros. So we need to figure out a way to get MJP on the big show. I'll tell you what. Mexico plays on Monday, the early game Monday, which is 9 a.m. Central, so 7 out on the coast. And 10 a.m. over on the East Coast, and 8 a.m. for you folks that are in the Mountain Time Zone. and so they play the early game on Monday. So hopefully, Mexico again since 1986 qualify for the group stage. It was a tough loss, a bad loss for Mexico, but as Juan said, get this one out of the way. If you get this one out of the way, it doesn't hurt you as much. Unfortunately, Mexico misses out on a huge opportunity to give themselves a more manageable bracket, but they're in the bracket, they're in the tournament. That's half the battle for a World Cup, and you got to play the teams that are in front of you. And Mexico, right now, with the results that hold, looks like it's going to be Brazil that they'll play on Monday over in Sonora. I can't remember how to pronounce that.
Sonora.
In Sonora, that's exactly right. Thank you, Juan. Juan, thanks very much for joining us.
Thank you, John. It's fun. It was fun.
Joel Aceves joining us, both of y'all. What's this with the double teaming, the Cali double teaming I've been getting lately? You guys are Samara. That's what it is. Not Sonora, Samara. They're not playing in Sonora. It's
not Sonoma Valley.
Yeah, no, or Sonoma or Pacoima. They're not playing in Pacoima. They're not playing in Pacoima, boys. So don't show up at the local high school stadium looking for the Molero against Brazil on Monday morning. They're playing in Samara. They're in Russia. Well, thank you guys for joining us, and we do appreciate everyone that joined us on the chat. Again, we're on tomorrow night, our usual time at 9:30 Central to discuss the group stage as a whole, and then we'll do go over the elimination stage, and I'm sure we'll talk, as we always do, more Mexico with our full panel. So my name is John Jagu. On behalf of Joel Aceves and Juan Uribe, I bid you all enjoy the rest of your afternoon, enjoy the rest of the games, and we will talk to you guys again tomorrow.
And great afternoon delight.
Indeed.